thank you to Hive Collab and the entire team for putting this together, but also for inviting me to be a part of it. So I was requested to speak about how technology and entrepreneur ecosystem has changed over the past years in Uganda. And I thought in my period of time that has been given to me, I'll talk about the mobile evolution as a test case or use case, Uganda's journey in the last 10 years, and then what UCC's role and contribution in that journey has been. So without much ado, you may wonder, why is she talking about mobile? That's not all there is. But the mobile industry gives us a very good canvas to discuss the changes in the industry. Because whereas we have a mix of technology, we can appreciate the change in technology when we look at the mobile industry. For many of us, we've never heard of 1G. We started hearing 2G, possibly even just heard from 3G. But this is an industry that goes back to the first generation that came out around the 1980, 1979, and guess what? It was analog. Yes, it was analog. So this was all about just voice. Then we moved on 10 years. Somehow it's been a 10-year journey for each evolution. So we got to 2G, and 2G brought, voila, text, SMS, and we're very excited because we could now text. But the industry has been busy. 10 years later, 3G comes out. What was the addition? We now had mobile internet. For many people, they might not appreciate why mobile internet was so exciting. But if around 1995, 96, 97, 98, you tried to use the internet, then you are familiar with a very beeping sound you had to go through. So you used to use the landline, connect via modem, first hear that ping sound of before you connect to the internet. Now here you are able to use this on your mobile phone. So that was the evolution of 3G. You now had mobile internet. Around then, we also recall most of our internet providers had come from giving us 2.4 gigahertz best internet connections. WiMAX came and all of us were excited about WiMAX. But that shows the unpredictability of our industry. Because whereas all of us predicted WiMAX was the new thing, it had come to change the dial-up connectivity, 3G came and overturned all that, because then you did not have to get another device. Everything was on your mobile phone. 3G, and you know, it is easy for us to say, yeah, I recall when we're discussing the policy in 2006, and we're debating about what should be the minimum speed, and people are saying, no, let's put it at 64K. And we're like, but that's not stretchy. Let's do 128. And they're like, no, that's not stretchy enough. 512. Can you imagine now? How can you talk about 512 kilobits per second? It seems like a joke. But that is exactly the evolution. It's unpredictable. You can only sense and have trends for a shorter time, but you will not always have a long foresight of what is coming ahead. So 4G comes, and what's special about 4G? It was expanding, again, the use of internet protocol. So we now had IoTs, and we had smart this, smart that, smart this, smart that, start to come alive. And all the while, aren't we there yet? No, we are not. Comes 5G. 5G then started trying to make sure that we realize this whole connectivity of connecting everything. Yes, 5G is not in Uganda fully. Yes, AIRTEL is now ushering us into that direction. But what can we look forward to? So this is looking at capacity. From coming from what the first gigabit, the first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, was more about speed. So you can look at it as coming from a bicycle to getting a motorbike, from a motorbike to coming to a car, and 4G, you arrive at an aeroplane. 5G, yes, the speeds, you could say now we are in a rocket speed, but it's now more than that. It's the capacity. Because you're looking at all the devices. Imagine if everything has, electronics or sensors. they are going to generate so much data, so much information, and the networks need to then be able to carry all that data and all that information. So that is what 5G looks at. Yes, you want to have these real-time experiences. You don't want to have any delay. If a doctor in Mulago is operating in someone in Karamoja, there is no space for having any delay. So you want it almost instant and real-time. And this is what 5G seeks to do. Guess what? We haven't yet rolled out 5G, and already the industry is talking 6G. And whereas all these generations have been taking 10 years ideally, 6G is expected to come out even in a shorter time, half the time. So by 2025, we might already see 6G available in the market. I bring that because that shows you in terms of the dynamism of the industry. We have other technologies, so it's not that mobile is it. We have fiber, we have satellite, we have other wireless technologies. But appreciating that change and the growth and the hunger to create more applications, moving away from communications as just a tool to communicate and talk to each other on network, to having it as a driver. When we talk about ICT as a driver of the economy, it's not driving, everybody wonders, so how does ICT? But now when you look at it, ICT has penetrated everything. I always like to look at the phone to appreciate this. And since I'm speaking to an innovation community, a phone these days, when you look at a smartphone, it has the internet, it has a camera, it can be your shopping because of e-commerce. We're doing guided exercises, so it's a health gadget. Netflix and all these mobile apps, Afromedia, Your TV, AIRTEL TV, are now on TV, so we're watching TV there. Your music player, many people do not even have. You might, you know, when you do a survey today and you ask someone, do you have a radio set? And they're like, there's the one in the car count. Then they remember, oh wait, listen to my radio on the phone. So this is how technology has taken us. We have the calculator, you can even do your courses, accounting, everything can be done on a computer. So do we still need a computer or do we need a smartphone? Food for thought. But just to show you innovation, appreciating people's challenges, what are you creating a solution for? I think it is also important to appreciate again in looking at this journey. We talk about the fourth industrial revolution. The president these days, I think, describes it best, because you talk about how it has been a journey, and for most of us, we started hearing about these industrial revolutions around the fourth. But this is just telling you how the industrial sector has been what has been driving the production in that industry. So you have from the steam engine, and you're thinking, so how was steam, important? But when you look at powering of the industries, that was a key jumpstart for them. Then you can't believe mass production, saying, you're in charge of handling that bit, then you pass it on to the next person, then you pass it on to the next person. That also was improving the production in the industry context. Then we moved on to the third revolution, and that is where computers came into play. But you can't believe this was in 1969. Now for us, we are like, oh no, computers are a thing of yesterday. No, computers, the third industrial revolution started around 1969. That shows you where were we as Uganda when all that was going on. But we're saying we're not going to mourn over the fact that we missed out all that. First, we want to leapfrog. And we're looking at the fourth industrial revolution. To many people, they speak about it as it is coming. But guess what? We are already in the fourth industrial revolution, even in Uganda. So it's just that we use these terms that make it seem like it is so far off, but fail to appreciate how it fits into our whole society. I'll just take a minute to share with you some of the aspects of the fourth industrial revolution. And a key part of it is making physical objects smart, or getting intelligence integrated in a flag. Imagine it having intelligence. So that is what the fourth industrial revolution looks at. So you have, of course, the mobile devices, We have IoT, that's Internet of Things. We have location detection technologies. I don't know whether any of you has ever thought about the days before Google came, Google Maps. I know, I can appreciate, because when years ago I used to do field work, my best tool was a primary atlas. And we used to follow the roads based on what the atlas is. And it says, but they say there's a road here, let's try and look for it. Now we're automatically asking Google, tell us, oh yeah, and you blindly believe in Google and we'll follow Google. Advanced human-machine interfaces, authentication and fraud detection. These are all opportunities we can harness as a country to develop and create local solutions that can help us leapfrog. Remember, all of us are looking to leapfrog. So we're addressing our local challenges that are impeding us from achieving the sustainable development goals, because we too are part of the global community. So we need to be able to catch up. We need to leapfrog. When the rest of the world was saying, oh, Africa is in trouble because they don't have fixed line telephones. In 1996, we had 50,000 telephones in Uganda. And we're being looked at as in dire situation because we had very few phones. But for us, technology gave us an opportunity to leapfrog. So whereas the rest of the world was busy laying out their lines to their houses, us mobile connectivity was our solution. It solved a local challenge of investment because it was now easier to, to just beam the signals across, and people got covered. I always remember in 1998 when people were asking us, actually it was like 99, is it true in Uganda wheelbarrow pusher can own a mobile phone? Because it seemed impossible to believe. But that is the power of innovation. So coming down to Uganda and the past 10 years, 10 years a lot has happened. When I look at coverage alone, you can't believe, if I just go to even 2018, 3G coverage was at 44%. But we're saying yes, we are happy with 3G, but now we don't even want to talk about 3G. We want everybody to have 4G. At the time it was 44%, just 0.04% coverage of 4G. Today, we have made significant improvements. So most of the masts across the country have 2G, 3G, 4G. But because of the technology and the coverage of 4G is still limited, something we have to work to. But we still celebrate, because 3G, we're now, as at end of 2022, we were around 87% of the country geographically. And why I would celebrate that is our population is not located in all the countries. So the operators tend to follow where the people are clustered. So you'll find if we looked at population coverage, it would be a bit bigger. 4G, yes, we're still limping. We're not yet there. We're currently at 44%, but we're very optimistic that we're going to improve. Subscription, another interesting one. So around 2015, we're at 6.18 million subscribers in the whole of Uganda. A population that then most likely was around 30-something, but today stands at 42 million. Today, we can say we have 32 million subscribers in Uganda. Yes, with that I have to qualify to say there are people like Alvin I'm here with who probably has 2 phones or even 3 phones and possibly a modem. But yes, we also need to appreciate we have a population that's largely youthful. We don't allow school children to own phones. So if we're looking at 52% of our population in around the age of 18 and below, I guess then the statistics of 32 million are worth celebrating, even with those anomalies. I would also add, since I'm addressing innovators, that we have around 23 million smartphones. Yes, I still have the Kyles who have multiple phones, but yes, that is still worth celebrating. Digital financial services. It is one of the areas that we have used to actually show the opportunity ICTs have in driving the economy. Back then, we used to say we're in trouble because we didn't have We didn't have any credit cards. We didn't have, very few people had ATM cards. And still you would only strictly go to the ATM. And we're saying now, how do you talk about even mobile commerce or e-commerce in such a scenario? Well, mobile money was born in East Africa. We don't talk about the country, but we talk about East Africa because we are now then a part of the whole situation. So we now have mobile money. And when you remember, when it started, it was only person-to-person transactions. Today, you are doing almost everything using mobile money. When I look at these applications that like PayPal and the like that have come in, I can't help but smile and think, yes, they are an adaptation of some of the things we have with mobile money. But what has mobile money managed to do for Ugandans? It has created employment, because we have, the mobile money agents. At first, everybody was scared when they said, no more scratch cards. And everybody was like, but you're taking away employment. But look, another group came in. So we have mobile money agents. We have all these agents that have come along the value chain. That's employment. We have inclusivity. We have more persons who are able to enjoy banking services without actually having a bank. Because maybe if they had gone to the bank and all the, the requirements that I've asked them for, they couldn't afford to have a bank. So they've gone away from there, hiding the money under the bed or in a tin, to now enjoying mobile money and being able to pay and receive via mobile money. I look forward to a cashless economy. Can you ever get there? I no longer doubt anything, so maybe that too will come to Uganda. But just to give you the statistics, around 2013, oh no, it was a bit later than that, I would say we had 19.5 million subscribers. I won't even go to the volume of transactions, because you'd be amazed how much of the money in Uganda goes via the mobile platforms. Today we have 35.4 million. And you might wonder, well, but she said there are 32 million subscribers, so how can there be more than that? It's because first when we count subscribers, it is that your phone has been active. That's why you hear us saying that when you're off and inactive for a while, we don't count you as a subscriber. So we talk about active subscribers. It is also worthy looking at applications. Back in the day, it used to be SMS USSD. Everyone was squabbling to do an innovation around SMS, and the public was suffering from unsolicited communication because of everybody trying to get into the space. Wedding meetings, SMS, everything SMS, information provision, SMS. With the technology advancements, you see that now, the SMS is still there, because indeed there are people and services that still have to run with that. But we now have e-services, which at one point would have thought impossible. Even government, for most people, the naysayers would say, government is a laggard. But look at how many of government services are online. When you look at private sector, I don't even think we know half the services out there, because people have been very creative in always looking for a niche, looking for a value proposition in every sector. So ICTs have opened up another channel for people to be able to access new customers, create new solutions, address new challenges, and take us forward as a country. So that we celebrate. I'm conscious of the time we have, so I'll quickly move on to what has UCC done, or has been the role of UCC in this journey. So UCC, or Uganda Communications Commission for that matter, is the regulator of the communications sector, placed on some of the operators. For example, what we call the National Telecommunications Operator Licenses. That's MTN, AIRTEL, Uganda Telecommunication Corporation Limited is coming in that space. We have Laika, Tangerine Trading as Laika. All those have an obligation to cover 90% of the geographical area of Uganda. So the entire boundary of Uganda, when you get their coverage at the end of their first 5 years of the license, should be 90%. And you might wonder, then why didn't you just do 100%? We want coverage everywhere. We are also cognizant of the challenges that there are places that are just not viable. Yes, we know they come in to make money. We have to balance the making money and the coverage obligations. So the other 10% that remains in the 100% is addressed by interventions by government and developing partners. So we have the national backbone infrastructure that was established by the government of Uganda under NITA Uganda. And then we also have an intervention by UCC, where through the Universal Service Fund, we put aside funds which we put to the market players to go into those less viable areas. So we try to reduce the disadvantage of those areas and enable the operators to go in so that even the people in those areas are able to get services. We've also been running an ICT school labs project. So we had a debate and said, okay, in the family, how do we get people to start picking up ICTs? Teach the child, and for many of us, if we're honest with ourselves, the children would teach us ICTs. So we introduced ICT school labs in government-aided secondary schools across the country. At one point, we were celebrating, we're nearly finishing all the government-aided secondary schools, but now we have seed schools that have been established. So we are still trying to make sure that all that gets covered. Of course, we celebrate that government then introduced ICTs since the computers were available. So the students now come from school knowing ICTs, at least the basic level of it. We have public centers because not everybody can own a phone. A phone we all desire, but for example, when you see, okay, now with the sales and promotions, you might be able to get a smartphone at around 150, but for a long time that has been 245,000 Uganda shillings. For many people that may not be affordable. So we put community access centers at public libraries and other community facilities so that people who can't own a phone or afford subscription have a place where they can go and access the ICT services so that they are still able to enjoy the benefits. We have an interesting household device project where we said, this statement about 10% or increment in GDP due to broadband. We're like, okay, COVID taught us something. All of us were stuck in our houses. You had to know a number of a border guy. Of course, you had to have a phone and be able to continue life by using the ICTs to network and still get your supplies. Now, what about the households that didn't have? Children were going online. Shopkeepers were trying to see how to continue their livelihood. So we introduced a project where we look at the bottom of the pyramid, persons in poorest areas, and give a smart tablet per household. And we seek to make sure that then that addresses the needs of the father, the mother, and the children. Of course, that needs them to learn how to share and manage their time well. We've also done Wi-Fi hotspots at border posts, because you saw the queues. I'm sure you all saw the pictures of those long truck queues that were at the border posts during COVID. And we're saying, okay, how can we be relevant within the context of COVID to address this? Because that's a situation that impacts trade, it breeds, transmission of the disease, and we introduced the Wi-Fi border posts so that the truck drivers and the personnel had connectivity to be able to address some of the border requirements online so that they spend less time through the borders and therefore speed up that process of transaction. And this has been placed across the borders in the country. Of course, it remains relevant even after, and it serves the neighboring community as well. We have also taken a technology neutral approach. So much as I started talking about 3G or mobile technology, we are saying, for us, we are open to all technologies, be it satellite technology, be it fiber, be it whatever wireless, even TV white spaces, whatever technology is there to address the coverage needs or the coverage gaps, we welcome it as a country, and as UCC, we have been facilitating it in our regulation. Key again was the issue of competition, because competition drives away investment, competition buries doesn't give people a chance to start. And for us, ensuring a fair competition was very key, because even the consumer can only benefit from choice if competition works. And so we have regulations that we developed in aspects such as multimedia messaging, even competition, fair competition regulations, interconnection and access, things like wholesale services. Telcos become very key in this, and everybody then has a monopoly on their network. So how do you make sure that that monopoly is not abused to the disadvantage of others? So regulation was one of the tools that we used. Of course, in there we've done a number of guidelines that we have developed. Infrastructure sharing, we have wholesale, SMS and USSD guidelines, again to facilitate innovators, that they are not exploited or abused or given unfair competitive practices by the telcos, to be able to facilitate innovation and growth of our sector. Resource management, spectrum. Spectrum is a resource where everybody, as I said, who does anything wireless needs spectrum, but it's a limited resource. So we have to make sure it is utilized well to accommodate everybody who wishes to come in and have a chance to play in the market. And we don't want people to just keep it to themselves or to underutilize it. We want it optimally utilized, because when it's optimally utilized, the country benefits, the investors benefit, the consumers benefit. The other aspect that becomes key is research and innovation. You cannot have development without research and innovation, because otherwise you're groping in the blind, in the darkness. How do you figure out where you're going? So you're going to likely waste all the resources going from one side to the other, but you'll also likely then duplicate what already exists. You want a process where you build on. You want a process where you're relevant, understand the situation before you try to address it. So research is another area where we've been very active as UCC. Firstly, we knew we need relevancy. I'm not going to go to the internet if I don't have, for many people when we used to ask them, so why don't you use the internet? Because I have no one to communicate with. The impression was internet is equals to social media. So we needed to bring the local relevance of the internet to everybody across the country. And therefore we've supported content in terms of agriculture and such other areas, so that again it makes it locally relevant to our people. They have a basis to go, what am I going online for? I'm accessing the public services, I'm accessing information to transform my life, to make it better, and this is what we sought to do. As a country, when you do research, those who are in the research aspect, who are doing PhDs and journals, know that in every country, now when you do a good research, where is the peer review mechanism? Where do you put it out to, have it assured? And so we partnered with academia. First, this was initiated with Makerere University, but it has the involvement open to all academia, all the universities. And it's the National Conference on Communications, where we come and we provide opportunity for academia to interlink with industry. There's nothing as painful as finishing a beautiful research and it sits on the shelves because it's not relevant to the industry. Why can't we use that capacity to develop, solutions or address the needs of the industry, things that the industry can take up immediately? That makes the research a lot more relevant. So with this platform, we sought to improve that opportunity for not even just industry, even government itself. We also need academia to do relevant research for us. We had the ASIA for many years, the Annual Communications Innovation Awards, and here we are trying to encourage people to think, give them motivation and celebrate those ones who are thinking. We have very bright people in Uganda, really good creators, people with great creativity. So we needed a platform where we celebrate them, where we recognize them. And it inspires others to come up because they then realize it is actually possible. Being in Uganda doesn't stop you from being creative. it doesn't stop the fact that you have a creative mind or you have originality. Rather than having our persons always wait until they are pinched by other countries and go and do all these solutions for them that they can actually do for us and be able to take our country forward. So the ASEA Awards was all about that, showcasing, motivating continuous innovation. Some of them, may have come some way and just need a little push to take them forward, and that's what we sought to do. We also recognize, and as UCC, we do not like duplicating efforts. So we look at the ecosystem and identify what is the gap. We already have had a number of incubation hubs, persons who, take you through, because for some people you're good technically, especially us in the technical world, but we are the worst business people, or even, addressing accounting and marketing issues. So with the incubation hubs, they were doing a good job of helping the innovators have products that can actually go into the market, but also understand how to do a business. And for that, we applaud them. We really especially applaud persons like Hive Collab that have survived all this long and continue to do a good job. Now, as UCC, we said, how do we help them? Because we had listened and engaged with them and listened to the challenges of why they cannot take on more people, why they are not maybe giving the service they would have desired to give to the incubators. And so we came up with an incubation support initiative where, again, UCC was helping the incubation hubs in terms of their infrastructure, connectivity, specialized software or specialized facilities in order to give our innovators, the best possible service that there is. We are also in the process of establishing a test bed. It's looking at really the 4IR technologies. And what we're seeking is provide a facility where academia, private sector, public sector, before you go ahead to invest in terms of the infrastructure that you'd need, why don't you first, create it and test it and be sure it works, and then can go into that. So that's what the test bed seeks to do. One, it will also facilitate collaboration among innovators, but provide the innovators an opportunity to develop their products that are then put out on greater infrastructure so that they don't have to invest in the infrastructure too early. This is something else we're really looking forward to. We also have ICT school clubs. These I'm very excited about. So last year, under the National Communication Conference for Communications, we allowed the ICT clubs for secondary schools. So wherever we set up ICT school labs, we found that you'd get a call of the lab is down, only to send a person up country and find the cable got out. It is as simple as that. And we're like, okay, we understand the challenges of the schools to employ persons to maintain the labs. Why don't we harness the students who are using these facilities? So we started an ICT school lab program wherever the labs have been created. So the school lab, the club is responsible for managing their lab. Of course, when they're in charge of it, they treat it better, but they are also supposed to then harness the infrastructure and develop their research and innovation capabilities so that we have people breed that creative mind, that they come up when they've already been nurtured to be creative thinkers rather than just copycats or doers. And last year they did amazingly under the NCC. So we had regional competitions that culminated into national, the work they outputted. We had e-commerce websites, we had all sorts of solutions, and the amazing thing was it was done by secondary school students. So this is something we're also very excited about. We're starting something new. We call it the e-booster program, where we again want to look at there are persons who have those good ideas, but they are failing to get either the support to carry them forward. And these ideas are still being such that they would help improve uptake of services in the rural areas. And we are saying, how do we tap into these creative ideas that are stagnant somewhere just because they lack either platform or a push. And so this is a program we want to experiment in that context, really targeting ideas that go into improving the socioeconomic transformation of individuals in rural areas, and we look forward to seeing how this is going to work out. Now, the other thing that we also observe, you can no longer say this is the ICT sector, this is the financial sector, this is this other sector. The boundaries have become very blurred because of technology, and therefore it requires that we have collaboration. For example, mobile money is one where for a long time everybody's like, but that's in ICT, and we're saying no, it's a financial service that's just being provided over ICTs, but it remains a financial service. So whereas mobile money, for example, is regulated by Bank of Uganda, it runs over ICT platforms. So working together with Bank of Uganda becomes very critical. As an ICT regulator, we advise them, and then the bank is able to conduct their traditional oversight. But we see that collaboration as key in fostering innovation, fostering development, because ICTs are no longer just a communication tool. They are actually an enabler of so much more. So our enabling role requires us to work with other regulators. We don't only work with the regulators. You know, people end up thinking the regulator, UCC, is there to come with a cane. No. Regulation, there's regulation working with stakeholders. So we also work with the industry players. We would love them to organize and regulate themselves. Not always that UCC has to come in for them to have order among themselves or foster good practices among themselves. So we have also a co-regulatory arrangement with the industry where we sit together and work. It's not that we are colluding, the operator, you know, the regulator has given up on the consumer and now is siding with the operators. No, we sit and have honest discussions where we see what is it that needs to be done in order to give a consumer the best result and have a fair environment. The last area that I would also speak to in respect of what we have done, people won't use services if they don't feel they can trust them or if they have the confidence to use them. Now, confidence, I always use and I always refer to Dr. Tsirira, Francis Frederick Tsirira, who said ICTs are not like a bicycle. You know, you put a bicycle there and a curious person will come and figure out how to get it moving and move on. With ICTs, you're always scared. So where do I switch on? How do I switch on? What if I spoil it? Now, where do I click? You need to take somebody through that basic. And that is very critical in the case of ICTs. So what we've done is create a program where we have one for the general public, where we want every Ugandan to have basic ICT skills. Know how to navigate, know how to switch on and off, know how to navigate, use a browser, say Google or Chrome. Where do I go to? How do I use these other services? What do I need to look out for when I'm online? Those basic skills are very key. In the interest of time, I won't go through that one because I'm conscious that I may have actually stepped on the 20 minutes that I was given, but it has been an honor, and I hope I have set you off looking forward to all you guys coming up, continuing to, push the frontiers and give us solutions, give us new innovations that drive this country forward, and be the employers rather than looking for employment. Thank you very much, and best wishes to all of you.